Hi guys, it's me, I'm back. My name is Sarah, otherwise known as Little Snips, and I have not been here for about 9 months, something like that. And I apologize for that. I had some health issues come up at the, beginning of last year that went on throughout the year, and it sort of robbed all of my creativity. I didn't really stitch a lot, I didn't do a lot of creative anything. Especially didn't make FlossTube videos, so sorry about that. I know some of you were happily following along with me. If you're still sticking around and you're seeing this video now, welcome back. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I really do appreciate it. If you are new to the channel, welcome to my channel. This is episode number 30, which is kind of sad given the fact that I've been doing FlossTube on and off for about 2 years. Should be more than that, but issues come up and life happens, and you know, it is what it is. You might notice I look a little different. I finally gave in to my impulse to shave one side of my head. I also gave in to my impulse to dye my hair, so the lighting here is terrible because it's a horrible rainy day in Northern California, which is not a bad thing. We need the rain for sure, but it makes the lighting bad. I had to turn my overhead light on, so it sort of washes out the color, but my hair is teal. Gliza, my friend, I'm following in your footsteps, sort of. Not red, like, or the burgundy, the beautiful burgundy that's in your hair, but it's color, and I love it. This is me. This is what I really want to look like, so, yeah, and my sweatshirt that says careful or you'll end up in my novel. I was a writer, am a writer, but I was a writer for several years, so one of my favorite sweatshirts. I'm being comfortable today, so if you see my pajama pants, let it go. It's a relaxed, laid-back day. It's also January 15th, 2019. So happy new year to all of you. Happy stitching year, new stitching year. I hope that all of you had some fantastic finishes and stitching that happened in 2018. I hope you have great plans for 2019. I thought I would start the new year off with a bang and come back with a WIP parade for you. Just a quick disclaimer for those who are not familiar with my channel. The boxes behind me on the racks here, they are full of snakes. I am a snake breeder. I am a snake owner. I love snakes. The small snakes. I don't have any giant snakes. I don't have any reticulated pythons or anything like that. My biggest snake is about 5.5 feet long. So no massive animals. I also don't bring them out, so you're not going to see them unless I warn you. If I show you a snake, I will warn you. If you happen to see somebody pop their heads up back here, though, that's out of my control, and I'm not really going to apologize for it. They're not going to fly at the camera or anything like that, so fair warning. Okay, I'm going to start with a WIP parade. Now, the battery on my phone is relatively low, so I don't know if I'm going to get through this in one piece. You might have to see it in several pieces, or I might have to piece things together. But without wasting any more time, until I go on another tangent like this, last time I filmed, I was talking about my 1,000 subscriber giveaway. I'm still at 1,000 subscribers, or a little bit more than that, which is strange given the fact that I've been gone for 9 months, but hey, I'll take it. I'm gonna have to redo the giveaway ideas and plans because I don't really remember what they were. I also used to give away magazine patterns. I will go back to doing that. I'm not going to do that in this video, and I don't remember whether I had given any out in the last video, so I'll have to check that. If I did, I may have to redraw them. I may have to get back in contact with people if I picked winners. I don't remember. I didn't look at my last video because I just wanted to do this. I've been watching people's videos recently, getting back into watching FlossTube, and I was inspired, so here I am. Right, so WIP parade. I have narrowed down a lot of my WIPs to about 45 pieces, which means that this may be long. Like I said, my battery's dying, so it might be in pieces. It'll be stitched together, whatever. Let's get started. I'm not going in any particular order. I'm not going by any particular designer. I'm just going to grab what's in front of me, and you will see me reach. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Also, warning, you will see taped pieces of fabric. I know that bothers some people. Hi, Janet. Sorry about that. You are going to see some unfinished pieces of fabric with like strings hanging off of them. Some of them are serged, some of them are not. I'm not picky about it. It doesn't bother me either way. Tape is tape. It gets cut off before it's framed, so I don't care. But I know it bothers some people, so again, bear with me. Right. I said I was going to start, and I haven't started yet, so here we go. First thing I'm going to show you is my Bands of Variations stitch along. This was a stitch along that was hosted by Lakeside Needlecraft. The design is by Doreen Jones, and I have the bright rainbow colorway, and I'm through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is month 6, so I don't remember when it started, but I'm working on month 6. I am woefully behind in most of my stitch alongs, so that's why I'm doing this, or part of why I'm doing a year of Stitch from Stash and WIP It works in progress, and trying not to start a lot of new things until I finish some things, because wow, do I have a lot. Anyway, Bands of Variation. I love the colors on this, and because of the lighting, it might look a little weird, but it really is a pretty rainbow, and I'm happy with where it is. I'm also doing the roulette wheel. Mine is called Decision Roulette because I have an Android phone. I know a lot of the iPhone users are doing Tiny Decisions, I believe is the app name, where you load the roulette wheel up with all of your works in progress or things you want to work on. You let the wheel choose what you're going to stitch on day to day. That's what I am doing this year. I'm going to try to do that this year at least. There are some things that I may break my rule on that for, to meet challenges or things like that in various groups, but that's my plan, is to let the wheel choose. So you're going to see a lot of stitching. You're not going to see a lot of progress probably on the stitching because I'm going to be doing 1 day of stitching on each thing. You understand how that works. Right. Moving on. My next stitch along. This was the Linen and Threads stitch along for 2018. It was called Medieval Menagerie, and it is well, you've seen it. You've probably seen it. You've seen other people working on it. You've seen pictures of it. You've seen other Instagram pictures of it. Basically, you get the pattern for free from Brandon Kirk, and then you get to choose your own colors for the design. You can do it one color or multiple colors. Because it was a medieval menagerie, I decided to do mine in tapestry colors. So yeah, that's what it looks like so far. This is 18 count Aida that I dyed myself. I really love this red color, and it's relatively accurate to the color of the fabric. The colors are blue and cream and gold. This is just part of the January block for 2018, so again, woefully behind, but that's okay. I made the fabric really huge. I made it twice as big as it needs to be, so I will have plenty of fabric to do something else on, which is good, because again, I like the color, but that's what it looks like right now. Some of these things I'm not going to show you completed pictures on because I don't have them, or I didn't go and get them. You know what they look like in a lot of cases. You've seen the stitch alongs, you've seen the patterns, and I don't need to show you. Things that I thought you might not recognize, I do have pictures of some of them anyway, so we'll get there. And my cats are in here with me. So if you hear weird rustling noises, it's not the snakes, it's the cats. They're down on the floor, being a pain in the butt. Next stitch along. This was the 2017 Linen and Threads stitch along. This is, again, 18 count Aida. It is, again, hand dyed by me. It is a sort of light modelly terracotta color, which is washing out a little bit, but that's okay. This is, again, January. So, as I said, I get really excited at the beginning of the year, and then I sort of peter off. So, but I'm working on it. I just worked on this a few days ago. So, this is January 2017 of the Linen and Threads stitch along, and that one didn't have a name. So that's where I am on that one. Next stitch along. Yes, I am doing the 2019 stitch along, and you will see it right now, as a matter of fact. This is the 2019 stitch along, and where I am on it. This is, again, 18 count Aida. This time I did not dye it because I'm using a Sulky thread. We talked about Sulky last year. I believe it was last year, which is the cotton floss that is variegated, the Sulky blendables. You only have to use one strand as opposed to 2 strands of DMC, and you get about the same coverage. This is the beginning of my 2019 Peacock's Garden, which is the name of the stitch along for 2019 from Linen and Threads. You have probably seen a lot of peacocks because lots of people are doing it, as they always do. I'm using Peacock Plume as my color, and this is a centered sampler. So as opposed to the other ones, which are band samplers, this is not. It's going to be a square sampler. So I'm interested to see how that turns out, and we'll see how it goes. Another stitch along from last year. This was the Modern Folk Embroidery stitch along for 2018. That was called 4 Seasons. Again, this is part of the way through the January clue. I have not, obviously, done any more than that. This is, again, 18 count Ada. I'm back to using Ada. I like Jobelan. I like my even weaves. I'm not a fan of linen, but I like my even weaves and I do stitch on them. But a lot of what I'm doing now is 18 count Ada because my eyesight's not getting any better and it's easier to see. Plus, I don't mind working on it. Once you wash it, it loosens up. This is nice and soft. Yeah, and I'm not a fabric snob. Not that any of you are snobs. I'm just saying I personally don't mind using Ada. So anyway, this is part of the way through the January clue of the Modern Folk Embroidery Sale from last year called Four Seasons. I am not doing the Modern Folk Embroidery Stitch Along this year. I'm not purchasing any Stitch Alongs this year. I'm trying not to purchase any patterns, period, but I'm not purchasing any Stitch Alongs because, as you can see, I don't finish them. So it's sort of silly for me to buy a bunch of stuff that's just going to sit and be uncompleted. So I'm finishing up stuff instead. This next stitch along is the Spooky Halloween stitch along, again hosted by Lakeside Needlecraft, again designed by Doreen Jones. You're going to notice a pattern here. I really like Doreen's stuff. This was from 2017, as you can see from the date that I stitched in there, and I stitched the date in there because I partly thought that I was actually going to finish it in 2017. I also figured since I started it in 2017, it ought to have that year on it, so it says 2017, and that's fine with me. But that is where I am on the Spooky Halloween stitch along. This is, again, 18 count Ada. It is, again, hand dyed by me. Yet another stitch along. I have a lot of these. Another stitch along. This one is by Ingleside Imaginarium. Brittany designed this. And this is the Guardians of Notre Dame. I'm holding that incorrectly. It should go this way. Haha, there you go. I got January completed, as you can see, with the blue guy on the top there. And I started February. Obviously, didn't finish it. So I got a little bit further with this one than some of my other salves. The frame is clearly not completed. But again, I'm going to work on that this year. But this is Guardians of Notre Dame, again by Ingleside Imaginarium, and this is on a piece of 28 count. It's an even weave. I think it might be Lugana, I don't remember for sure, but it is the colorway Ruins by Color and Cotton. And most of these things, I will tell you, I am stitching in DMC. I am not a big fancy floss person. I do belong to the Color and Cotton floss club, so I do have some of that. I do have some of some floss from XJU Designs, but I don't have a lot of fancy floss and I don't go out of my way to collect it, so most of my stuff is just stitched in DMC, which is fine with me. This is another Sal, which you will be familiar with, I'm sure. This is the Clouds Factory Fabulous Women, and I'm not even going to fold that all the way out, I think, because there's no stitching on the rest of that fabric and it's too big to fit in the front. So, this is Fabulous Women. This was the Clouds Factory Stitch Along for 2017. Sorry, my phone just warned me that the battery's dying, so I am going to have to do this in pieces and stitch it together. Anyway, this is, again, on 18 count Ada. It is, again, hand dyed by me, and hopefully you can see that because my camera dims out when the battery's going to die, but I don't think it does when it's recording. So, Fabulous Women, I have January finished. I started to do February, as you can see, with this little blob of white over here, but again, this will be worked on this year. And I'm going to pause so I can recharge my phone, and I will come back later and finish doing the WIP parade. Bye for now. Great. Okay. Now I'm all charged up again, so I can continue with the WIP parade. So, moving on, still in the Sal category, this is Happily Ever After. This is by Frost and Pumpkin Stitchery, and this was their 2017 stitch along. Again, just didn't finish it. I got excited at the beginning of the year. I started a lot of stitch alongs, and then I just didn't finish them. So, this is on a piece of, I believe this was a piece of, am I holding that correctly? Yes. This is on a piece of 28 count Monaco, I believe, that I dyed myself. It's a full piece. Sort of slightly modelly. And I got January finished, as you can see. and then I stopped. So I've been working on it. It will get worked on this year, but not completed. This one, I don't have a completed picture of this because the only picture I found that I had shared in an earlier video was the version that Minnie Gray completed, and I don't want to steal her picture again. So if you look it up, you can find it. This is a Joan Elliott stitch along. It was a mystery stitch along, and I don't remember what year it was. It might have been 2016. I don't think it was 2017 because I found it after the fact. So I think it was 2016, and this is on a piece of 28 count Picture This Plus. 28 count doubloon by Picture This Plus. And you can see that I have not very much done on it. I have the frame, the border done on it, and that's it. One of the things doing the Stitch from Stash, doing the year of works in progress and stitching things that I already started accomplishes is letting me know what things I'm still interested in stitching on and what things I'm struggling a little bit to stitch on. So this one, I struggled a little bit when I went back to work on it, and I'm going to keep working on it because I'd like to have it finished one day. I really do love Joan Elliott stuff, as you will see later. I have a project of hers that's in the work that I'm completely enjoying stitching. Actually, I have 2 pieces that I'm working on. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the fabric or... I don't know what it is, but I wasn't not enjoying stitching this as much, but still going to work on it. The next Sal, this is, excuse me for things wiggling, this is Under the Sea, and this was also hosted by Lakeside Needlecraft. This is also a Doreen Jones pattern, and again, as you can see, I didn't get very far. This is on, it's 28 count, and this is a fabric flare fabric. It is, which means it's printed, so the back side is white. The front side has color. This is a gradient, so I don't know if you can tell on the camera because of the lighting, but it's a gradient oceany blue color. It is the fabric that came with the kit. I got the fabric because I liked the way it looked. It has water ripples on it and such. I finished January, obviously. The octopuses was the January block. The second block, the February block, is the shark, which I did not finish. I worked on this recently and got as much of it done as you can see. And I actually really enjoyed working on this again. So again, this one will be worked on throughout the year until it's finished. See? Lots and lots of stitch-alongs. This one. This is one of my husband's favorite stitch-alongs that I have not finished. Go figure. This is the first Ingleside Imaginarium stitch-along. This is Birthstone Dragons, again designed by Brittany. And Brittany Church, I believe is her last name. But this is the Birthstone Dragon sampler. I got a little bit further in this one since I worked on it a little bit again last year. This was 2017's Stitch Along, and that is the January Dragon, which is the Ruby Dragon, and the February Dragon, which is the Amethyst Dragon. And I've set up the block for March, which is the Aquamarine Dragon. This is a piece of 28 count Monaco again, I think, that I dyed myself. It's gray and has a little bit of gold sparkle in it. Again, when I went back to working on this and putting the border in, I really did enjoy looking at it and thinking about finishing this, so I'm looking forward to working on that throughout the year too. And my last stitch-along, or official stitch-along anyway, is, I believe this is the first one that I joined. And I joined it late, so I believe this was also a 2016 stitch-along. This was also hosted by Lakeside Needlecraft. Sort of like you'll see a pattern of Doreen Jones projects, you're also going to see a pattern of Lakeside Needlecraft stuff because I like the stitch-alongs that they host. There are a couple that they're doing right now that I would really like to be a part of, but again, I'm not purchasing stitch-alongs this year, so that's okay. Sorry, I had to check the time on my clock, or on my phone. This is the... I'm going to hold it crooked again. This is the Fantasy Sampler. I joined late, so the first one that I completed was December's block, or December's circle, which was the fairy down there on the bottom. And I finished then the January unicorn, And now I am working on February's mermaid. She is blonde in the original pattern. She is a blonde mermaid. I am converting her to have brown hair because blonde is tough for me to stitch. I have a hard time sometimes seeing all of the various yellows in the blonde colorway. So I decided just to make her brown haired, which is fine. It's fun, and we'll see how it goes. But obviously I have a lot to do, and I'm going to have to replace my patterns because I don't. And then my memory filled up, so apologies for the jumps and skips and changes of angle maybe. Anyway, the last thing I was showing you was the Fantasy Sal from Lakeside Needlecraft and Doreen Jones, and yeah, that was the last of my stitch-alongs. I will now show you, I think, all of my kits. You will have to bear with me with some of this crinkling and whatnot because I'm opening packages. Hopefully it won't be too bad. The first one I'm going to show you is, this is an artiste kit that I got from Hobby Lobby. I don't shop there anymore, but I did every once in a while for a while, and this was something that one of my best friends pointed out to me and said that she thought I needed to stitch, and I agree. This is actually a Barbara Bates pattern. It is the Japanese Angel, and I got it because I had never seen, I know it's glaring a little bit, I'm sorry about that, but I had never seen a Japanese angel, a geisha angel before. So I bought that. I think I've talked in earlier videos about the quality of the artiste kits and how I'm not a big fan of them. They're tolerable, they're not great. But I am stitching it on what it came with, so I am stitching it on the Aida it came with. I am using the floss that it came with, and this is how much I've gotten done. Not a lot, but some. This is a sleeve and the bottom of the kimono. There's a sleeve up here as well. I'm doing it color by color as opposed to section by section. Normally I stitch bigger patterns in, like, I'll take a quarter of the pattern and stitch it. This time I chose to stitch it in sections. I have several of Barbara Bates's other angel patterns now. I'd like to have them all, ideally. I'm not a religious person particularly, but I do like angels. And these angels are very unique in my opinion, so I have collected some of them. Gliza, I've started one of the angels, so if you want to start the zebra, the African angel, or if you want to start something else, feel free to sell along with me, or you can wait until I have a space open for another angel. Once I finish the Japanese angel, I will start another one, so we can schedule or work together and get to the African angel. And of course, anybody else who's interested in stitching these or has these patterns and wants to stitch a Barbara Bates angel, feel free. Let's see. The next kit I'm going to pull out is, I believe this is a Busilla kit. Nope, I'm wrong. It's a Janlin kit. It is a Janlin kit, and it is called Resting Tiger. I'll show you the big picture since the little picture is going to be a little difficult to see. That is what it will look like eventually. It is a, what's the designer's name? It's a designer that you guys know, and I can't read it. Ah, yes. Jane Netley Mayhew. I should have known that just from the way it looked. But that is a Jane Netley Mayhew picture. She is well known for her animals and her attention to detail in the animals. This was a kit that I got from my local stitching group. At one point we brought things that we weren't going to work on, or patterns or kits or things that we weren't going to finish that might have been started. This was actually started before I got it. It is, I believe, on the Aida that came in the kit. This is how much of it is done. So, like I was saying before, some people like to work in quadrants, which I usually do. That bottom quadrant is mostly completed. I have been working on the top. So this part up here, so where you're starting to see the ear and everything, that's what I've worked on. Again, this will get worked on throughout the year. It is called Resting Tiger. It is a Janlin kit. I don't know when it came out or whether it's still available, but it's a pretty cute tiger. The next kit I have, this is probably my oldest project that's currently in my rotation. This is a sunset kit, yes, and it is called Noble Reflections, and I know some of you have seen this because I've seen somebody working on this somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where, but this is what it will look like when it's finished. As you may or may not know if you haven't watched my videos before, I am partly Native American, and that I am very fond of Native American and Southwestern style and decor, trying to incorporate more of that in my house. So I'm bringing this back out to work on it. Now, this is old, and the fabric is slightly stained in places, so I'm hoping that that will wash out when I'm finished. At the moment, I have this much of it done, which is not a lot, especially given the fact that it's at least 20 years old. At least. It's gotta be 20 years old. But I have, I'm working on the border and, again, doing this in colors. So, eventually, it will be finished. And that's that for that kit. I don't have any clever in-between pieces to tell you. And then last kit that I have is a Dimensions kit. It is the, what do they call it? Oriental Butterfly. It is the Oriental Butterfly. Now we would call it the Asian Butterfly, I'm sure, but this is, again, an old kit. I know some of you have seen this. It was not hard to find, not a hard to find kit back in the day. This is, again, a piece that I've had for quite a while and have not really worked on it. As a matter of fact, all I have done since I have had the kit, and it is on the Ada that comes with it, because it has the printed background, is that I've done the kanji around the edges. That's it. No butterfly. Not yet. But that will get worked on this year. And that is the last of my kits. So let me move on to, well, it's sitting right here by itself, so I'll just show it to you. And this one I don't have a picture for because I had to go and rebuy the pattern. I talked about this in one of my earlier videos, that I had to go and buy the pattern online because I had lost the actual paper pattern, which is sad. This is also an old pattern. This is a Teresa Wensler, who is another favorite designer of mine, and I have a ton of her patterns, and I plan to work on many of them, but I don't have a lot of them in progress right now. This is the Celestial Dragon. It is an Asian dragon. He is he makes sort of an infinity figure. There are kanji in the four corners. It's beautiful. I actually was beading on this as I went, so there are already beads in some of this. This is mostly blended thread, even in the blue section, and it's going to be very complicated to finish, but one day it will be done. Let's see. Okay, now to my stack of assorted things. Some of these are Hades, some of them are not. Some of them are things that I haven't shown you in a while. Some of things are things that you have seen if you go back a couple of videos, you'll have seen them before. It's a mishmash. So the first one is this Menopausal Dwarves. This is a Sue Hillis design. You see it says, itchy, bitchy, sleepy, sweaty, bloaty, forgetful, and psycho. I am doing this for myself and a friend. We are of that age, and have talked about the various issues that come along with being of that age occasionally. I am doing 2 of these at the same time. So you will see one on this side, you will see one on this side, because they're the same size, same piece of 18 count Ada. I'm just doing them at the same time and stitching along as I go. This is a piece that I am doing for a friend of mine who is a big Harry Potter fan. This is the Hufflepuff House Crest by Stitch. It's not Stitchrovia. It's Stitchering, I believe, on Etsy. And this is what it looks like so far. This is an example of what I was talking about working in quadrants. This is the top right quadrant of the pattern. That is not anywhere near being finished, but I did get a good chunk of it done. With the badger in the center there, and the helmet, and the curlicue and everything. This is stitched on a piece of 28 count, I believe it's MCG Textiles even weave fabric, which it's probably not square, but it doesn't really matter to me. Again, a project that will get worked on throughout the year. Here's another Teresa Wensler piece. This is, excuse me, I got the hiccups. This is one of her rocking horses, and it comes from this Just Cross Stitch leaflet. Just Cross Stitch, yes, Just Cross Stitch. Not from the magazine, it's actually a leaflet. I am working on Sweetheart, which is this one right here, the Valentine's Day pony. I'm working on this because my husband is a big horse person. I'm a horse person too, but he is a big horse person, and at one point I was going to do all of the Teresa Wensler carousel horses, and that didn't happen. It will eventually. But this is a rocking horse, as I just showed you, and that is where I am on her so far. This is another one where I started working on her again and realized that there were some mistakes I had made and that the fabric that it's on, this is a piece of some sort of linen. Again, I don't work on linen. I don't like it. But I'm not as interested in doing that pattern as I once was. I will finish it. I will finish the rest of them. I'll put them on different fabric, of course. But yeah, it will get finished though because I'm determined to finish it because it is also an old WIP. My next WIP, I'm not going to show you the picture for this. I have shown it before. This is a cross-eyed cricket or cricket collection pattern. It is one of the monthly patterns. This is the January pattern. As you can see, I have finished the U and the N. So I'm sort of... so I went for the middle of the pattern first, which was the U. So the N, there's an A and a J on this side, and then there's an ARY on this side, obviously not finished. This is on 28 count. It's an even weave. I'm not exactly sure what. I dyed it. I put sparkle in it as well. It's sort of an icy blue. It's not going to show real well on the camera in this lighting, but I do love the fabric. I think it turned out beautifully. There are pictures of it on my Instagram where you can see what the fabric actually looks like. Again, something that will get finished this year. Okay, here's a Haid. This is the Story Keep White Nine-Tail Fox by Stephanie Law. I don't know if that's directly in the camera, but that's what the pattern will look like when it's finished. I love Stephanie Law's stuff. If I had all the time in the world and 17 hands or 18 hands to stitch with, I would stitch nothing but Stephanie Law 24 hours a day. This is where I am on the Story Keep. That is the upper left corner. Yeah, upper left corner. And this is how I have started stitching my Haids now. I stitch starting with the upper left corner, and I stitch diagonally. And I will go diagonally by by page as well. Fortunately, I believe these are only 2 pages wide, so it's long, but it's not wide. It's a lot of blue in that particular pattern right now. Next up is another Doreen Jones piece. This is the Summer Unicorn that looks like this. I have all of the seasons. I'm a big fan of seasonal work, so this is the first of the unicorns that I've decided to do. And again with the quadrants, upper left-hand quadrant, that is how much I have gotten done on the Summer Unicorn. This is a piece of 28 count. I think this is also a piece of MCG Textiles fabric. So whether or not it's square doesn't really matter to me. I know I'm speaking very quickly. I'm trying to get through all of this stuff before my phone fills up because I don't know exactly how much space I have. So please forgive the rush through everything. I will slow down in the future. This is another Heaven and Earth design. This is Cosmica by Jenna Della Grottaglio Maldonado, though I believe she's dropped part of that name at some point, or I don't know. That's what it says on the pattern, so that's what I'm going to call her. This is Cosmica. This is one of the few full-size pieces by Haid that I have. I tend to go for minis if I think the detail is enough, but I did get burned by that, as you will see in it if you've watched earlier videos. You know I was working on a Shakespeare piece and discovered after many hours of stitching that the detail was not enough for me. So I am considering now if I buy any more Heaven and Earth designs that I will buy the full size and just deal with the fact that they're huge. But this one I bought specifically to be full size because it was the only size there was available and I didn't want to wait for a mini. This is a huge endeavor for me. I meant to work on this a lot last year, and as I said, my creativity sort of went by the wayside because of health issues, so I didn't. But I am working on it again this year. This is how far I've gotten. That is almost entirely black, which a lot of my patterns are, go figure. I am stitching this 1/1 on 25 count Lugana, and I am almost finished with the page. When I get to when that block is filled in, that will be the bottom of page 1, and I'm intending to finish that this month. So it will be a milestone. Yay, I got a page done. And then I'll move on to the next. Again, I did this starting from the left-hand corner and worked diagonally. I will do that with the pages as well as within a page. This one I don't have a picture of either because I don't. This is a creatively crafting pattern. Some of you may be familiar with the fact that there is a stitch along that started last year, which is a Disney Princess stitch along that's hosted by Creatively Crafting. They are, I believe, Mandy I'm not going to remember how to say her name. They're the stained glass patterns. They're stained glass images. They are broken by lead lines and things like that. They're pretty recognizable if you see them. Mandy Mendazzo, maybe, is her last name. I'm butchering it, I know, and I apologize to her. Anyway, I bought this pattern. I am a part of that stitch along. I bought this pattern, however, because I really liked it. This is actually a Doctor Who pattern. It is the 10th Doctor, so it's David Tennant. And it is, as with all of them, it is full coverage. This is all that I've gotten done. This is a completed block, or no, it's not a completed block, but this is all I've gotten done so far. I am doing this 1/1 on 18 count Ada, or 2/1, sorry, on 18 count Ada. And yeah, it will be done eventually, and hopefully you will be able to recognize things. You can go and look it up in her shop. It is, I believe it's called 10th Doctor. And yeah, I love the color. I'm mostly pleased by the fact that it didn't start all in black, so. This is another Haid that you have seen before if you've watched me. This is the mini Priestess of Quetzalcoatl. This is a Jasmine Beckett Griffith, but it is in her other style of artwork. I am not a big fan of the super huge-eyed girls, the big-headed girls with the giant eyes. Some of them are okay, but they're not my favorite. To quote Teresa, Kitten Stitcher. This style is more my style, plus snake, plus South American. It hits a lot of things for me. So I was working on this before. It is being stitched on a piece of 25 count Lugana, and this is where I am right now because I started over. If you have watched my videos before, you will know that at one point I was this far into the pattern, and so you can actually see some of the design elements in there. I realized when I went back to start working on this that I couldn't really figure out where I was, and that the way I had been stitching it was going to confuse me and frustrate me, so I started over. Just flipped the fabric, because there's enough of it, and started over, so there you go. I am working again in this page block by, or section by section, so 100 stitch block by block in colors, so yeah, it's gonna take a while, but I'll get there eventually. Yet another Heaven and Earth design. This is Mini Ravenkin by Selena Fennick, I think is how you say her name, or Fenich, I'm not sure, but that's what it will look like. And as with most of my Heaven and Earth designs, they start in the left-hand corner with a giant chunk of black. So that's what that is. That is a giant chunk of black in the left-hand corner. And not very far along, but again, it'll get there. This one I need to bend over and get the book for. Oh, this is, I mentioned that I was working on a Joan Elliott stitch, or a couple of Joan Elliott patterns. This is one of them. This is the Celestial Dragon, and it is on the front of the Bewitching cross-stitch book. It is this dragon here. This one is a request by my husband. He is a big dragon person, as well as a horse person. He asked me to stitch that in exchange for him finding that book for me a couple of Christmases ago. This is one that I am restarting again. I did start stitching this and discovered that I had messed up. I was stitching it on a piece of fabric that I dyed, and in the dyeing process had shrunk it enough that I couldn't count the squares, and it just wasn't working out well. So I am restitching this, and it's going to be really hard to see on this fabric probably, because that is the correct way. The fabric, they're dark colors, and I really can't see what I'm doing, so I don't know if you can see that. It's a very small amount of stitching. There's the beginnings of the outline of a wing and the arch of the back on the dragon. I decided to switch it to this fabric. This is a 18 count Opal Ada from Fantasy Dyed Fabrics, and it's beautiful. I mean, the colors on it are just amazing. And I am restarting. So started from scratch on that a few months ago, and we'll continue to work on that, and hopefully the dragon will show up more the more color gets in there. This you all know, or you probably know, this is Death by Cross Stitch. This is as far as I have gotten, and it is as far as I have been for several months now. This is not a completed first page. It is the first page, but it's not completed. This is being stitched on a piece of MCG Textiles fabric, and it is being done 1/1. Right, starting this again, and I've got about 5 minutes. So, I was showing you Death by Cross Stitch. That's where I am. How fast can I do this? Not that fast, probably. The next piece is a full coverage piece, which is a artisy piece. It is Cocopelle sampler. It is full coverage because I love full coverage and can't get enough of it. This is where I am on it so far. Again, upper left corner, going block by block. Still a lot to be done. The next one, I have to reach for the book again, and I apologize. I have to speed through this because my space is going to run out again, but I'm going to do my best. Another Joan Elliott. This is from her Native American cross-stitch book. I am doing this pattern, which is it's called Indian Maiden, I believe, in the book. I have seen it listed also as Hummingbird Maiden because she has a hummingbird. There is a Native American maiden as well, which is a totally different pattern, which eventually I will do, but it doesn't look anything like this. It is part of the series, but it's not that particular pattern. I am working on this. This is on a piece of 18 count Aida. Again, like I said, I'm enjoying working on that. That I dyed myself. It's just slightly beige, and it's not going to show you the whole thing because I have the needle minder on there weirdly. But that is the part that I have gotten finished. It is the bottom left-hand corner or edge of the dress, of her skirt and her jacket. There will be more of this, obviously. I really liked working on this when I picked it up to work on it, so I will be working on that again and greatly looking forward to it. Next one. Sorry about the bob. My phone is hovering mid-air, so apologies for the movement. The next one you should recognize if you are familiar with the cross-stitch world. This is Save the Stitches by Liz Almond, Blackwork Journey. Obviously, this is on a piece of 25 count Lugana. I'm doing this over one with DMC and metallics. It's a big piece of fabric. It's huge. And I have done very little. This is not even the first block completed, but I work on it as I can. I am not doing this in proper black work. I am not doing proper running stitch on this. I am basically stitching where my needle happens to go because I'm not concerned. I don't care what the back of this looks like. I mean, you can see it. There's the back. I don't care that it doesn't look exactly like the front. It's fine with me. I am looking forward to working on this. This will probably be a multi-year project because it is so big and yeah. But I am working on it and getting through it. And I have 3 minutes left. I can do it! I can make it to the end, and then I'm going to race through my goodbyes. My next piece is the one Mirabilia I have on the go. This is Raven Queen. You guys have seen this elsewhere. You have seen conversions of it and everything. But I am working on this for a friend as well. And I am working on this on a piece of Stormy Gray fabric. I'm not exactly sure where it came from. But that's what it's called. It is 28 count even weave, and that is as far as I've gotten. Now, on this, I said I didn't like fancy flosses. This is the exception, the Mirabilias, and like if I work on my chatelaine, I will use fancy flosses on those because I feel like they deserve them. But most of the time, I don't use fancy flosses. This I will. I do have the fancy flosses for it. But that's as much as I've gotten on the skirt. Again, stuff that will happen later in the year. It will continue to grow. Quick, quick, quick! This is the next piece. This is called Believe. It is a Christmas banner that just says Believe with little cherubs on it. It is from, I wrote this down at one point and now I can't tell. It's from the Stitchery magazine back in the day. It's old. It's very old. It's at least 1997. This is on a piece of 18 count Aida that I dyed myself. Again, it is sort of a rosy beige. There are a couple of dark spots in there because there was pen on it and it bled when I dyed it, but that's alright. I am doing this and my phone is gonna die. Okay, anyway, that's what that is. And the last one is Tea and Cakes. This was a free stitch along from Doreen Jones and Lakeside Needlecraft. It is a 6-part piece. I have 2 pieces done, and I am going to finish this sometime this year, hopefully sooner rather than later. Like I said, speaking quickly, my phone is gonna fill up, and I'm gonna have to piece this together in like 5 different pieces. Thank you so much for watching. I will try to do updates more often, obviously, than 9 months from now. Keep your fingers crossed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!